Whoops. Okay. So this gets us to one of my handouts, which I'm going to pass around. Yeah.
Do you have any experience regarding to dryness or moisture in your bedroom? So
Yes.
if it's too dry, does it impact your sleep?
For some people it does, and I would look at when people are feeling really, really dry and that's inhibiting their ability to sleep, we want to look at why that's happening. Are you breathing through your mouth because you have congestion and can't breathe through your nose? Are your eyes dry? Are you getting enough and the right kind of fats in your diet? Because fats act as emollients in our body, emollients which coat and protect and lubricate. And so getting a good balance of fats, and there are fats that help really coat and nourish the mucosa, or what I call the wet skin on the inside of our body, our eyes, ears, nose, throat, our digestive system, all the way through our body. And it actually even has an impact on our skin, the skin on the outside of the body too. And so making sure that you're getting the right balance of fats, the right balance of nutrients that nourish skin, and the ability of skin to self-lubricate both inside and outside. So yes, that can be a factor. For some people, if you have chronic congestion, the use of a humidifier with some essential oils that are non-drying oils, the more lubricating, anti-inflammatory restorative oils can be really helpful. And that's a simple thing to do. But otherwise, I would look at underlying reasons why it's happening. And it's different. I hate saying that. I'm going to say that probably another 20 times through this talk. It's different for every one of us, yes.
Can you touch on actual bedding?
Yes, I can if you would like me to do so. So the trick with bedding is to make sure your bed is comfortable, that it supports you in the right manner for you. So it's challenging when you're a couple and one of you likes a really, really firm mattress and the other does not. In that case, exploring some of those beds where they have the air channels where you can create different firmness can be useful. If you have large dogs with really sharp nails, that may not be in your best interest, but cats can't do damage to those because they have mattress covers and things like that. Yeah, so, and then bedding, some people are sensitive. So making sure your pillow is not more than 2 years old. That if you are an allergic person, that you don't have pillows that are old and have either goose down or duck feathers stuck down, or even the polyfill, because the act of breathing actually pushes moisture into pillows, and that moisture can breed bacteria. It feeds dust mites and can become allergenic after a period of time. So making sure you're replacing those, washing your pillows every month, usually every 4 to 6 weeks, just wash them. Send them through a wash and dry cycle, and that tends to take care of that. To bedding?
To bedding.
It
How
can,
do you know if you're having one?
Congestion in your head, sometimes coughing or sneezing at bedtime or when you're in bed or waking, feeling congestion that resolves as you get up and go about your day and only occurs in your bedroom and maybe doesn't occur when you go stay in a hotel.
I found that when I stay in a hotel in a bed that possibly has chemicals in the mattress,
Yeah.
that I just can't sleep.
haven't even gotten to chemicals yet. But yeah, that's really true. That for some people can be a challenge. So chemicals in bedding, there are hotels that are more sensitive to the use of chemicals, but they're hard to find and tend to be more expensive. Making sure that you are flipping your mattress, that you actually vacuum your mattress. You all know about doing that. You want to vacuum your mattress every month so that you can pull extra dust and debris that can just get through the bedding that you put on the sheets, the mattress pad. You want to wash your mattress pad every month. Sheets, some people are sensitive and some people are not. So you need to find sheets that are a pleasure to get between. Your bed should be a pleasurable place. I call it the most important piece of furniture in your home. And you want everything about it to be a pleasure for you, the way it smells, the way it looks, the way it feels when you get into it. You had a question?
Well, there's these covers, you know, you get for your
Yes.
pillows, all of the allergenic mattress and stuff like that. So if you use those, you wouldn't have to wash them every day.
Not quite so often, but you still have to pull those off and you still have to wash and vacuum and do all those things because no matter how much they trap or keep out, there's dust everywhere. If you've ever seen those PBS specials, it's horrifying of the amount of debris in everyone's house. If you're an anxiety-prone person, you wouldn't want to watch them.
My sister was saying something about wool being an inhibitor for like the dust mites and things like that.
Mhm.
Like, because my doctor was telling me I had some allergies to dust mites.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was true or.
It can be because there's lanolin, it traps the dust mites and it's breathable. It keeps excess heat and away from you, but some people are sensitive to wool.
Yeah.
And so that's not a good, it's not an option for them. So it's so variable. And wool, over time, you have to clean it too. Everything has to be cleaned periodically when it's around your bed. We spend a lot of time in there, yeah.
My natural body rhythm says go to bed late, sleep late,
Mm-hmm.
and my job just does not allow that.
Yeah,
So I end up going to bed late and getting up early.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any way to retrain yourself or?
We're going to get to that piece. That's part of sleep hygiene. Yeah, we're still in the bedroom part of it,
Oh, okay.
but we're going to move toward that, sort of the behavioral
I'm sorry,
pieces.
I came in late.
No, I'm glad you brought it up because it's one of the most important things we can do. Anything else you'd like to bring up about
I
that?
found that on some beds, and I'll bring it up because I'm a woman of a certain age, waking up because of hot flashes
Mhm.
and, you know, I heat up the bed heats up me, and this vicious cycle. And, you know,
Yeah.
and I have found that a layer of wool and the cotton mattress has really helped with that.
Yeah, because wool pulls that heat away from the body versus silk, which is an insulator. So wool can be really helpful if you are going through heat imbalances. And if you're a couple and one of the partners is very, very warm, it will help keep the other person from overheating as well. So those wool pads are fabulous for that. You can even get wool pillows. For those of you whose pillow gets too hot, you can get pillows that are stuffed with wool. And if you're really cold all the time, you can get pillows stuffed with silk. And silk is an insulator. It's amazing what is out there on the market now that we couldn't get a while ago. So, yeah. And so then there's this back to the sleep hygiene piece of things. I'm a roamer, I'm sorry, I hope that's not too disruptive. I walk a lot, fidget when I talk. But retraining ourselves to sleep appropriately. And that's kind of challenging for many of us. We have a natural pattern that our circumstances, as you say, may not allow us to follow. So one of the tricks to use to do that, there's a whole list of things to do, but one of those is to disengage yourself from stimulating activity an hour before bedtime. Turn the TV off. You can read books, but you need to read books that are not stimulating, not something that's going to engage you so much you're going to want to keep reading until midnight or 2 in the morning to see what happens next. It should be something that is more on the spiritually uplifting side of things. Things that you can read that help calm your brain, yeah.
What about all these devices, Wi-Fi, radio frequency, phones, things like that? Do you think that is a disturbing thing, even if it's left them
I think having a phone next to your bed can be really challenging for many people, because when I have a phone next to my bed, I'm waiting for it to ring. At some level, I'm just waiting for the phone to ring. Being my age, I kind of miss the days where you could turn your phone off at night. You used to be able to just turn your phone off and it wouldn't ring for a certain period of time during the day or at night. And you can do that with your cell phone as well, but I don't recommend having electromagnetic objects in the bedroom with you. I really don't. Most of us do better without them. So that attending to our spiritual health before going to sleep tends to promote parasympathetic activity in our brains. It calms us down. It helps us to center more deeply down in our bodies rather than thinking through everything. It allows us to move into a more parasympathetic level of functioning. So for some people, part of that calming down before bed, if you have diabetes, if you are hypoglycemic, if you have variable blood sugar, might include having a small snack at bedtime. The snack should have a little protein, preferably a tryptophan containing protein. And protein is something like yogurt or cottage cheese, maybe an egg, some turkey, little vegetables, something that's not too much, just a small amount to keep your blood sugar stable through the night. Many people who have been highly stressed and are really sensitive to cortisol have variable blood sugar until that's restored. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we just hit on something that jogged my memory, that it's during REM sleep that all that hormone balancing goes on. So that's
Yeah.
why
The snack.
so that they can stay asleep and get to that REM sleep.
Yeah. And sleep is when our body repairs itself. It's when cellular replacement is going on, yes.
We're talking about high cortisol levels. Is there a way to test that, or just know it by more or less the circumstances of a person's history?
After a while, you know it by just having people describe the sleep pattern disruptions, but you can measure it. And the best way to measure cortisol, you can measure cortisol by a blood test, but the act of having someone stick a needle in your arm changes your cortisol. So that's not the most effective way to look at it. Plus, cortisol is more effectively evaluated by looking at it, how it goes through your day. So, for example, a normal cortisol pattern for most humans, it's highest in the morning. We wake up and it's highest in the morning, and then it sort of gradually goes down to its lowest point to allow us to sleep. So let's say this is 8 a.m. This is not a very good pitch. Sorry, I'll get a different one. So say this is 8 a.m. and this is noon. This is 5 p.m. and this is, say, 9 p.m. And it's not quite like this, but you get the general idea. It's highest in the morning, it's pretty stable, it starts dropping down in the afternoon, sort of gradually. Many of us have a disrupted cortisol pattern. So you can end up with presentations of excess or deficiency. So you can wake up in the morning and it's really low, and then it goes up, and then it comes down, and then all of a sudden at bedtime it goes back up again. And that is what we call an obstacle to cure. Yeah. So part of what we're doing with treatment is to reestablish the normal cortisol pattern. So you wake up in the morning, you have energy, you feel good, you feel rested. You get up, you start your day, you go through your day. By the end of the day, you're feeling a little low, but then you go exercise, either midday or later in the day, and your energy goes back up, but then it drops off again sharply right around bedtime. Your mind starts shutting down, your body's tired, you can lay down and go to sleep. That absolute nirvana that many of us are seeking. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know where this will fit in, but I'm just tired all the time. I just experience fatigue, and I sleep a lot, and I sleep very well when I do sleep, but for some reason I just can't, so I will supplement it with naps if I can, but it gets in the way of my life and my
Yes.
day-to-day, and it's very frustrating for me.
Yeah.
I do have hypothyroid, which apparently can affect it, but I want to know what I can do to be more energetic during the day.
So our endocrine systems are systems, which means that your thyroid and the function of your thyroid directly affects your adrenal glands, which secrete cortisol, by the way. They're the sort of help. Cortisol is a lovely substance. It's an anti-inflammatory. It reduces pain. It allows us to run away from danger. It allows us to get up and go through our day. It's actually a normal part of our bodies. When you have a disruption of a thyroid, for example, it affects your adrenal glands, it affects your pancreas, and the secretion of insulin and glucose and insulin response, all of which has direct impact. The endocrine and nervous systems are so tightly connected. So an imbalance in one affects the other and vice versa. So yeah, I hope you're seeing somebody, and if you're not seeing an acupuncturist or a naturopath, I would send you to one, because it's one of the, you have something that really would respond to supportive care and restoration.
I take medications for it, but I'd like to know if there's anything
There's
else.
more. There is more you can do, and I can't go directly into the details. No, it's a great question, and yeah. So back to the stimulation and the cortisol and sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous systems. So part of sleep hygiene is to calm ourselves down enough that we can actually fall asleep and hopefully maintain sleep. So I passed out a sheet of breathing exercises, and I know that sounds silly, but actually breathing can change the chemicals that your brain is releasing. In our midbrain, sort of the ancient brain in our heads, we have a part of the brain up there called the locus ceruleus that secretes glucocorticoids, which are excitatory hormones, but also secretes endorphins and enkephalins. We've all heard about endorphins. That's what's released when you exercise, once you get to a certain level of exercise. But those are also released by pleasure. Endorphins are released by eating chocolate, in women more than men, frankly, and they've done studies to prove that. For women, you get that endorphin relief, especially nice dark chocolate. So released by chocolate, by love. Love releases endorphins more than any other drug you take. It's amazing. So love can help you sleep better or not, depending on what else is associated with that. But so getting that part of our brain, which is it's a primitive part of our brain. It's highly sensitive to sympathetic output. And so nourishing the parasympathetic system increases the enkephalin, anti-inflammatory, feel-good, calming, and endorphin release in our brain. Lots of ways to do that. So deep breathing is one of those. Actually doing deep breathing where you breathe in for a count of 4 to 6, hold for a count of 2, breathe out for a count of 4 to 6, hold for a count of 2, and just keep repeating that cycle, shifts and changes your brain chemistry almost immediately. I thought we could try it together. So if you all would, just uncross your arms if you would, and just relax some of that shoulder tension, which you may not have, but I do. And take a nice breath, release all the breath in your body. Take a breath in from your belly, way down deep, not up here, but down here. So deep breath in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold, 2, release, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold, 2, in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold, 2, and out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold, 2, in. And if you breathe in through your mouth, out through your nose, feel how different that feels. Now in through your nose, out through your mouth. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth is more calming than in through your mouth and out through your nose. Who knew? So I don't know if any of you felt anything from doing that. Anybody feel a shift or a change? A little bit of one? Okay. Just that breathing before bedtime is really helpful, which is why for some people, doing relaxing exercise, stretching, some Tai Chi, Qigong, that kind of activity right before bedtime can be very calming, centering, and relaxing, and allow them to sleep. There are some yoga postures that are more relaxing and non-stimulating. So, and just some general stretching exercises, moving your body that way. Taking a bath, and not a hot bath, but a just warmer than body temperature bath. That temperature is more calming to our brain. The theory is it's sort of like going back into the womb. It's warm but not hot. And that can be really relaxing and calming, especially if you add a cup or two of Epsom salts, magnesium sulfate, to the bath, which actually is absorbed through your skin and relaxes tight muscles. You can, yes.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, interrupting's good.
Only have a shower.
Only having a shower, you can still do the tepid shower. And you can actually drop a few drops of an essential oil onto the floor of the shower so that the oils are released into the air and you're inhaling them. Because anything you inhale through your nose goes directly into the limbic system in your brain and calms your brain down. So the more relaxing substances are, for many people, lavender. For some people, it's rose. Essence of rose is quite expensive as an essential oil, but rose geranium has a similar action in the limbic system. Lemon verbena. Those are very relaxing substances. And so breathing those in right at bedtime can calm the brain enough to allow you to drift into sleep. Other tools I use are to take and put a couple drops of the oil on a cotton ball and tuck it right into your pillowcase. So you're inhaling that as you sleep. It helps you not only relax and go to sleep, but helps sustain sleep for many people. Not everybody. You try everything and figure out what works for you. So those oils are really useful. You can also make a pillowcase or change the pillowcase, that edging on your case, and take some tulle and make a sleeve out of it, fill it with some lavender or some of those herbs, hops, lavender, lemon verbena, sew it into a circle and put it in that casing at the end of the pillowcase. And then you inhale those herbs every night. Take it out before you wash the pillowcase. That's a really easy way to use these herbs. You can drink the tea before bed, but if you are prone to getting up to urinate at night, that's not such a great idea for some people.
What kind of teas are best at night? I know obviously I don't know caffeine.
We're going to go into the herbs here in just a minute, and I'm going to talk all about the herbs. Wow, this is going,
How about
yeah.
melatonin?
Melatonin.
Hormone, I guess.
It is, and we release it naturally in our brains. It's part of the circadian rhythm. We release it in our brain, and some people who've become overstimulated are not releasing adequate amounts of melatonin. Melatonin also has effects on our immune system, so if you've had a chronic illness, jet lag, change in work schedule, melatonin can be really useful. The trick with melatonin is the amount that you take. Some people do really well on 1 milligram. Others need 3 or 5 or 10 in order to sleep. When you first start taking melatonin, you can have what's called a sleep hangover. That usually clears within 2 to 3 days. So when you're going to start taking melatonin, start with 3 milligrams. If you're sleeping too soundly or you're not quite getting there, go down or up depending on you. How sensitive are you as a person?
I've tried it about 4 times and I've used the 3 milligrams.
So,
It didn't seem, one night it kind of worked, I think. And then,
Yeah.
night, I tried it a couple other nights and didn't seem to work at all.
so try some of the sleep hygiene pieces and then take the melatonin as well. And maybe go up in dose, up to 5 milligrams. Try that for a few days. If it's still not working, go up to 7, 6 or 7.
It's not harmful.
You can take, there are some conditions where you're using melatonin as an immune support where people are taking 20 or more. If you're going above 10, I would recommend talking to somebody, just because it may not be the best answer for you. Yeah.
What about tryptophan?
L-Tryptophan or tryptophan can be really useful. That old hot milk at bedtime thing. For some people, that is a really useful tool. For others, not so much. One of the reasons I recommend as a protein cottage cheese or yogurt at bedtime is because of the tryptophan with it, because it works better for some people. Warming the milk tends to make it more effective for some people as well. But not everybody, that doesn't work for some people. My grandfather would only drink milk if it had whiskey in it. So, but yeah, I don't recommend the whiskey because then you wake up at 3 in the morning. So there you go.
What's a safe dosage for, I'm using 500 milligrams at the moment.
It can be, it depends on the person, so it can be 500 to 1,000. So let's see, I talked about the lavender or other oils or herbs to smell them, to calm down. I talked about reading material. One of the things I like to recommend to patients are books like Kitchen Table Wisdom, Ruth Naomi Remen's book. It's short stories about health and healing that are really lovely, and some of the I don't like to call them self-help books because just find books you like. Some people read poetry. I read Shakespeare. For some reason, the language of Shakespeare to my brain is incredibly calming. Believe it or not, reading out loud to yourself is actually more calming than reading silently. Or listening to a recording of someone reading something. Does that make sense? So being read to, how many of you are old enough to remember coming in from recess and having the teacher read to you for 20 minutes? It was so glorious. And it got us all calmed down so we could actually then go on to lessons. Because it's calming and relaxing. And so it's that kind of activities we want to incorporate at bedtime. I sometimes listen to or will do podcasts of some of the NPR short stories. Those are useful. There's just lots of that out there. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely no computer for an hour before bedtime. It just, yeah. My niece was living with me not that long ago, and she would fall asleep on Facebook with her head on her computer. And then wake up at 2:30 in the morning. And it's sort of a different generation, which is entertaining as all get out for me. But so herbs to balance the mind and body, and these are some of the herbs I find really useful for not just promoting sleep, but nourishing your nervous system so that it's easier over time to relax, fall asleep, and maintain sleep. So you rebuild that buffer zone around yourself so you can withstand stresses more easily, which I think is part of what's going on with you. You need to rebuild that buffer zone so you're not so sensitive. Our antenna can go so far out around us, that sort of intuitive antenna that we have around us all the time. So Passionflower, one of my very favorite, and it's such a beautiful flower. I mean, how could you not want to take that as medicine? It's sedative, which means it actually suppresses nervous system corticosteroid output. Not to the extent medication does, but it's calming. Some people find it calming and focusing at the same time. It is also soothing to a system that's been overstimulated through the day, where you find yourself just, I don't know the words for it, sorry, maybe it'll come to me. And it's also anti-inflammatory, which is lovely for most of us.
Are these like in
You can take them, any of these herbs can be taken in tea or in tincture. Tincture is an alcohol extract of herbs that pulls all the constituents out. Does have alcohol in it, but you only need usually a drop or 10 to 20 drops of this to have an effect. And you drop it into a little water and sip it at bedtime. Or you can get it in a capsule by itself or with other herbs that are similar.
What would you recommend?
I think it depends. I like tinctures, but I'm used to nasty tasting things. It doesn't taste as good as it looks. It's bitter. It tastes kind of earthy. Yeah. So if you don't have a palate developed to tolerate that, maybe a capsule would be a better form.
Where can you buy the tinctures?
You can buy tinctures at Super Supplements, at the Herbalist, at Whole Foods and PCC. Yeah. You can also get a glycerate. A glycerate doesn't have all of the constituents. I'm sorry? Yeah.
I was just going to ask how close to bedtime you would recommend this for the melatonin?
I usually take them about 30 minutes before bedtime, because you want to let them just soak in and work and let yourself ramp down.
I'm thinking about elderly people who don't want to drink too close to bedtime.
Yes, and so you'd want to take it at least a half an hour to an hour before bedtime. And often with people who are sensitive to urination, I'll use the tincture, because with a tincture, you only put it in a little bit of water. I mean, a tablespoon or two. So I'll either do a tincture or I'll do capsules. The problem with capsules is that they have to go through your whole digestive system to be absorbed. And with tinctures, they go directly into your stomach and then into your bloodstream, which means that you're getting the effects really quickly, within 5 to 15 minutes. Yeah.
So, those of us that have more segmented sleep, they fall asleep easily, but find ourselves awake in the night or too early, would a capsule be better because it's
Yes.
more time release?
Exactly. So for people who fall asleep fine but wake up in the middle of the night, a capsule's better because it takes longer to be absorbed and it can help you sustain sleep. Also, if you wake up, you don't want to lie in bed and toss and turn. You want to get up. You want to get up and read or listen to something again. But do not do any behaviors that reward you for getting up in the night. You don't get to balance your checkbook. You don't get to study for an exam. You don't get to clean your house. You don't get to do anything like that. You need to only allow yourself to engage in activities that keep you calm and centered. So do some stretching and breathing, some meditation. Feel the night around you. Keep the lights down low if you're turning them on. Yes.
Is writing considered?
Writing is considered a rewarding behavior.
Okay.
You can read other people's writings, but you can't write your own. Yeah.
What do you think about using your bed space or your room to do most of your work during the day and I don't have an option, but I realize that maybe my brain associates that with.
So one of the things, I too have lived in that sort of one-room scenario before. In that case, what I do recommend is keeping your bed for sleeping and relaxing only, well, and sex as well. So all of those things. But if you're going to work on your computer, you need to sit at a different chair or in a different area of the room. Those kinds of activities need to be not in your bed, but elsewhere in the space. You want to keep the bed for sleeping and sex and relaxing, not for any work, because that gets too confusing. Our minds aren't that clear. So, yeah. So what I've done here are just some ideas, sleep hygiene. That's what that handout is. It's ideas for promoting healthier sleep that you can incorporate into your daily life. So there's Passionflower. Another herb I really like for sleep is California poppy. This is not opium poppy. So it doesn't have those effects, but California poppy is a sedative and it's also a hypnotic, which means it really calms the sympathetic nervous system down, and you can actually use this to go deeper into a meditative state. Okay, California poppy. And it's really effective for people who tend to be overstimulated mentally. People who overthink, and that's what's inhibiting your ability to sleep. Or if you wake up with your mind racing, take this and take another dropper, just have it next to the bed, or take a dropper full, put it in a little water, and sip that again and lay down and go back to sleep, just to calm your brain. And if you have muscle spasm or pain, there are people who wake up with charley horses or muscle spasms. I look at the nutrients like calcium and magnesium and potassium, but then I would add California poppy and hops to what they're going to do. Hops? Yes. The old thing about beer helping you fall asleep, it does, but the alcohol's not always the best choice. But hops are amazing for promoting healthy, deep sleep. The old thing to do with the herbalists in Europe was to make a hops pillow. So you would take the hops and lavender and chamomile and lemon verbena, and you mix those all up and stuff them inside a casing and use that to fall asleep. I have a niece who, when she was a child, was a little precocious and she would have difficulty sleeping, and I made her a hops and lavender pillow. And that was not just that the hops and lavender worked, but the idea of this pillow being quiet time and promoting sleep for her. So,
California poppy helps with restless legs.
yes, very good for restless leg. Hops are also very good for restless leg. And these are just a few of the herbs. I could have made this talk completely about herbs, but I restrained myself. Yes.
There's so many different herbs you
I
can use.
know.
How do you know where to start?
Well, I'm mentioning these because these are the ones that I would start with. And you can look out on the market.
One at a time, or if there's a combination, obviously you could take that.
I would probably, if you have severe sleep problems, I would start with a combination. Gaia Herb Company has a lovely formula in drop form called, I think it's called Healthy Sleep or Good Sleep or something like that, that has Passionflower and Scutellaria and hops in it. It's really very nice. So you can find combinations from a lot of the different companies out there. I know the Herbalist has sleep formulas as well. Yeah.
I just wondered, since these are being made from herbs, how do you know if it's fresh and it's
Exactly, and if it's good, and if it's manufactured appropriately, in organic sources and healthy and all of that. That is one of my big things. So I'll tell you that Gaia Herb Company is incredibly high quality standards, and they're available over the company. There's one called Herbal, his name was Ed Smith, out of Oregon, Orange Label, Herbal something, I can't remember. Anyway, he's sold over the counter at PCC, his company. It's Orange Label, green and black writing on it. Herb Farm, thank you. Oh, that's it, Herb Farm, yeah. PHARM is a good company. Yeah.
Are these herbs safe to be taken taking with other medications?
Yes, that's also why I mention these, is these are very safe. They're safe for babies. I've done teas and lozenges for small children. Okay? So they're very safe herbs. You would vomit before you could overdose on these. Yes. It's G-A-I-A, yes.
As far as I love the idea of the hops pillow.
Uh-huh.
I have 4 non-sleepers in my house.
Oh my.
And one with restless leg. And,
Yeah.
where would you get hops?
You can buy them at good herb stores. So there's one
bulk?
in bulk. Yeah, in bulk.